glad to be here to talk a little bit about some disaster preparedness. Some of this stuff you all might already know or might have an idea about, but hopefully you'll take a little something away from it today. So we'll jump right into it. So some of the benefits of being prepared: reducing fear and anxiety. I know for me personally, the job that I do, I have a wife and 2 little girls at home, so having things in place that my home is prepared for helps me know that they're taken care of whenever I'm at work, taking care of you all for the community. So reducing the impact of disasters, resiliency, and ultimately we hope that this saves lives. So what we're going to talk about today, identifying some common hazards that we commonly face here in this area, warning systems, and having a disaster plan in place. So the first thing we're going to touch on is hurricanes. So how often do we face hurricanes around this area?
Every year.
Just about every year. So we're in an El Nino right now, so this issue may be a little different. It might be a little less of what we're used to seeing, but you never know. Mother Nature always does its own thing. So facts about hurricanes. Commonly, we get a lot of rain off the hurricanes, especially this area, depending on how the hurricane hits the state or states below or above us. Depends on has an impact on the weather we get around here. So this causes flash flooding, high winds, and tornadoes can also spawn off of these storms as well. And most of this are related to flooding. Why do you all think that deaths are caused by flooding due to hurricanes?
People driving through.
Possibly driving through, yep. So it could be a lot of times when there are evacuations in place, some people don't want to leave their homes. So they stick around, they don't want to leave what they have, and they end up getting in trouble. So before a hurricane, some of the things to keep in mind: securing outside objects, patio furniture, pillows. I know my wife, we have patio furniture and there's a pillow on every chair. And every time a storm comes through, they're all out in the yard and I have to go pick them up. So trimming trees and shrubs around your home. Think about if you get a lot of rain and the ground's saturated, and then here comes all the heavy wind, and then that's where you get all your trees down. So definitely don't want to have a tree come across your house or any of your personal property. That's a common issue we see whenever any kind of storm comes through the county. We get a lot of trees down. Clogged rain gutters and downspouts. Obviously, when drains are clogged up, the water builds up, has nowhere to go. And just preparing for power outages. So generators, if you got them, making sure that they're operable and that you know how to use them and get them out and get them going. So during the hurricane, listening for information from the weather service, whether it's like a little weather radio that you might have, or any source that you can get your information for the storm, just being able to access that. Staying indoors and away from windows, seeking shelter in a safe room if needed, and the main one here is staying off the roads. If there's a big storm coming through, try not to be out in it. Thunder and lightning storms. So this is probably your most common weather event that you're going to see around this area. Look, at this past week we had how many, Blake? 2 or 3 in just every couple of days. And the issue with these is you can look at the weather and they'll tell you, there's a chance of thunderstorms in the evenings. Those are common. Oftentimes they will pop up out of nowhere. It could be a clear forecast, and then all of a sudden it's raining, the winds are 15, 20 miles an hour, and you got a lot of storm damage. So like I said, they come in clusters or lines. You know, we can get straight line winds off of these storms, and they cause a lot of damage. And again, most of the deaths from these storms are from flash flooding. So before the thunderstorms and lightning storms, things to keep in mind, again, it's a lot of making sure that your property is just in a ready state, making sure that you don't have any dead trees, making sure that your gutters are cleaned out, and securing all of your objects that you have around your property. And again, during the thunderstorm, listening from the advice from the weather.
I
I'm
have
sorry.
a question. On the last screen,
Yep.
there was at the very bottom, it said, 30 lightning safety rule.
You
Yeah,
know
so
about that?
Yeah, so 30 minutes, from the last lightning strike, it's safe to go outside and get away from that and not be in that storm. We tend, just like in a pool or something like that, you tend to want to wait 30 minutes.
That's what we always heard,
Yes.
yeah.
And like I mentioned, during the storm, making sure that you're just staying current on the most up-to-date information from the weather service. And any messages that myself or Blake or any emergency services personnel might push out. I know we have code red in the county that we are able to push out messages that are very important. If we need to, we can send those out, and those go by phone call, text, email, or some of the common ones that we push out. Avoiding showering, bathing during these times, just staying out of the water. Obviously postponing outdoor activities and seeking shelter. And if you were outside, you know, lightning typically strikes the highest point. If you're on the water, boat is a bad place to be. You want to get back to land. Avoid isolated sheds and structures like a barn that you might have out in the field. You want to stay away from that. And like I mentioned, if you're having to be out fishing one nice day and a storm comes up, you want to try to get back to land as quick as possible and safely as possible. So after the storm, lightning strike victims carry no electrical charge. So if they've been struck, you know, they obviously need help as quick as possible, but they are not. Don't be afraid to go up and touch them. They're not going to hold a charge. And assisting those people, obviously calling 911 as quick as you can, and then checking their breathing, their heart rate, and pulse. So when it comes to floods, facts about flooding, one of the most common hazards in the United States. Flash floods can develop quickly. This is caused from the sudden onset of rain. And typically whenever this onset occurs, the rain doesn't have time to soak into the ground or find drains as it was if it was like a slow moving storm. So the water builds up. Obviously there's a greater risk to the low-lying areas near water and areas of storm drainage. So before flooding, so think about the hurricanes that are coming through or any heavy thunderstorms that they're telling you that there's going to be a lot of rain. If you are in a low area, having flood insurance. I know typical homeowners insurance doesn't cover floodplains. Am I right on that, Blake?
You're right.
Okay, I thought so. So obviously avoid building in a floodplain if possible. Staying away from those low areas. Elevating all of your utilities that have electrical running to them. Water and electricity don't mix. You want to keep those two far away from each other. Installing check valves and sewer traps, and construct barriers or sealing basement walls. So sealing basement walls would probably be a big one for everybody here. during the flood, just like the other storms that we talked about, staying up to date on the information that's provided, seeking higher ground, and being aware of the streams and the drainage channels that are around your area. You might have a creek that runs alongside your house that floods every year, and you know about it. So just being mindful of those. And does anybody know the big term that everybody uses when it comes to flooding? Think about if you're in your car and you're driving.
Don't drown, turn around.
Yep, turn around, don't drown. Yep, so that never assume that the water is shallow and that you can make it. Just, if you see standing water over a road or anywhere, don't just stay away from it. That's a very big issue that we see. I know I serve on the Swiftwater team for Thomasville Fire Department. I'm a full-time firefighter for the city. And serving on the Swiftwater team, that's typically one of the biggest things we see is people trying to make it through the flood water. You know, I can make it through there and I can get home. Their vehicle gets stuck, they get swept away. Water is very powerful, and it does not take much to pick you up and move you, much less a car. So turn around, don't drown. So after the flood, use caution. Areas that are flooded, inspect drains and driveways to ensure structural integrity. So if you suspect damage, just call somebody and say, hey, I think I might have some damage. I need somebody to come look at it. And then if it is safe to do so, clean and disinfect damaged property. And you know, if you have a drain that might be clogged up and you think that you can unstop it safely, then you can do so. So tornadoes, has anybody seen a tornado around here before? When was that?
Back in the 70s, down in
In the 70s? Okay, in what area?
Churchland.
Churchland? Okay.
Mhm.
That was way before my time, so I wasn't around till the late 90s, so. I feel like tornadoes are becoming more of a thing that we see around here. You know, you used to think of tornadoes as, you know, out in the Midwest, Texas, Oklahoma, Tornado Alley, and then, you know, you start seeing them more and more around here. The weather's changing, it's staying hotter here than it used to be. They're the most violent storm. Every state is at some risk, obviously more than others. And they often give us no warning. And they also can come on the edge, trailing end of the thunderstorm. It's typically when we see this happen. So before tornadoes, things to keep in mind: having a safe room, or just having an idea of where you would go if there was a tornado that would hit your home or the area that you live in. Listening for weather conditions and staying up to date on that. So things to do if you do encounter a tornado: seeking interior room structure, away from windows, a stairwell, stay away from windows, like I said, and if available, get to ground next to a wall and cover your head. So like we did in school, you know, get in the hallway, cover your head. Staying away from loose objects that are in a room. So if you're driving, immediately get out of the vehicle or trailer. Mobile homes are very vulnerable because of they're so light, they're not structurally attached to a foundation. Finding a low-lying area is the best thing to do there in this instance. Stay away from bridges and never try to outrun a tornado. And of course, watching out for the flying debris. And at this point, Blake is going to take over and present the rest of the presentation.
Well, that means we're halfway through.
Do you have a question? So typically with bridges and overpasses, the wind can still move under the bridges. almost like a vacuum effect. So, I would say that that's probably the main reason why to stay away from those.
Got any other questions on this? And we can take all the questions at the end, or we can ask some now. If you got questions at all, just raise your hand, we'll talk about it. Yes, ma'am.
So what's that interior room in your home? What is it?
So we would probably say the center of your home. Pick a spot in the center of your home, if possible. I know for me, my laundry room's right in the middle of my home. That's our safe spot. A lot of times closets and things like that. If you have a basement, go to your basement, obviously in the middle. But next to an interior wall, and we sometimes tell people if you got bike helmets or stuff like that, for a tornado, put that on. Anything to protect your head, because flying debris, that's the main thing that we're watching out for. Did you have one?
Yeah, I heard that the tornadoes come in this area mostly at night. That's just what I heard.
Yeah, I'm unsure of that. That could be a statistic thing, I'm not sure. They're kind of out of nowhere, is usually. So we'll move to winter weather, and if y'all are anything like me, I'm getting my milk sandwiches out if we're getting some winter weather. Is that about right? Milk and bread? I know I'm doing that. For what reason, I still have not figured that out yet. If somebody can tell me, that'd be great. But so we get through winter weather. Some facts about it. Winter cold kills more than twice Americans in summer heat. For some people, that's a big statistic, because a lot of people think the real hot weather is more deadly, but actually a lot more people die of cold than heat exposure. 1 inch of water produces 4 to 5 inches of snow. We don't see that. When's the last big snow? I can remember, I think probably been 5 or 6 years ago, and that was probably 6 inches of snow. Anybody from around here know when we had over a foot of snow?
Yeah.
A while ago?
Yeah, back in about 1986.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and then a 1/4 inch to a half.
You weren't around then.
Yeah, I was not around, but that's okay.
I'm sorry.
I'd love to see that one stuff. And then a 1/4 inch to a half inch of ice can cause crippling effects. So we know even a 1/4 inch of ice, that's going to lay on power lines and trees. Power lines are going down everywhere as well as trees are. Let's see, pop quiz. What is the most, let's see how I word this. The tree that seems to always fall, what kind of tree do we always tend to see over the roads or on power lines? Pine trees, yeah. So the thing about pine trees, they've got a very shallow root system. So their roots run right on the ground. I know it because on my driveway, there's roots coming through the asphalt. So that's one of the things, and they tend to fall more of the time. They hold more weight, and they usually tend to fall. So before winter weather, have alternate power and heating solutions, but exercise caution. Use battery-powered light sources, charge devices, and plan for pets to come inside. So during winter weather, same thing as Austin's been saying, listen to the media. Ensure generators are outside at least 20 feet away from any window or door. Do not put the generator in your house. They put off, especially gas generators, they put off carbon monoxide, and carbon monoxide is the silent killer. So that's never a good option to put it inside. If you're putting it in a garage, which we don't recommend, make sure that garage door is open and there's plenty of ventilation going through that garage. And then use heavy duty power cords to plug in devices. The small drop cords at Lowe's and stuff, they do not have enough amperage to be able to take a generator. So make sure you're getting those heavy duty drop cords. All right, so during winter weather, stay inside, avoid traveling. If travel is necessary, have a full tank of fuel, dress in layers, blanket, flashlight. So what's some other things, we might get into it. Okay, so what's some other things, we haven't really talked about a disaster prep kit. So what's some things we keep in the house we might want to have in a box or something if the power's going to be out and stuff like that? Just throw some things at me real quick. Blankets, flashlights, medications, batteries, tools, any kind of portable radios, first aid kits, all good things. Phone charger, yep, absolutely. And one of the cool things now, have y'all seen those phone chargers that are mobile where you can charge it and then it doesn't have to have power and you can plug your phone into it? That's a good thing to keep. I just recently learned about that. I didn't know that was there. So, yeah, so having that disaster prep kit, staying ready, that is the main thing. Some things you don't think about is some important documents, some legal documents. Maybe your home insurance and things like that, titles to your vehicles, insurance cards, all that's good to have. So earthquakes. Last earthquake I think we had around here, maybe 2 years ago in Sparta. 2.3, I think. We didn't feel it. There was some structural damage around Sparta for a 2.3 earthquake, and that's rare, but definitely can happen at a moment's notice. I think there was one not long ago, might have been after or before
There's
that.
one we felt tremors.
Yeah, I think that was before that
But
Sparta
that
one.
wasn't that, didn't it?
Yeah. So during an earthquake happens, protect yourself right away, drop cover and hold on. That's about all we can tell you to do, drop cover and hold on. So, if you're in a vehicle, pull over, stop, set your parking brake. If you're in bed, turn face down, cover your head and neck with a pillow, stay in place, do not get in the doorway. So this is some of the stuff that Austin was talking about. We have the Code Red system. Who in here has Code Red alerts on their phone? So we are currently in the process, and we'll get with Anna, we are currently in the process of updating that system. So we would like for everybody in the county to get on that system. And that basically is a thing that texts you, that emails you, that'll call your phone that you provide and will tell you, we send out those messages, but also the National Weather Service sends out messages. So for those who have Code Red that says severe thunderstorm warning, the National Weather Service pushes that through. And then our emergency notification system, that's something that it's called iPause. So when you get those Amber Alerts and stuff on your phone, that everybody at once, the whole room goes crazy because everybody's phone's going off, we also have access to that. So we can push those messages out, but that is gonna be for more, mass evacuation type incidents. Difference between a watch and a warning, I think we all know this. So what's a watch? Yeah. Conditions look right, it might happen, it may not happen. What's the warning? It's happening. It's happening right now. So storm watch, we just talked about it. 12 to 36 hours. More of that 36-hour range is those winter storms. They usually can have a better track of when that's going to hit us. Those tornadoes, it could be 5 minutes. So just having that weather radio, I know I keep one in my home, just right next to my bed, and it's turned up all the way. I want it to wake me up. Storm warning, it be occurring soon. Family disaster plan, I think we talked a little bit about this. Family communications plan, having all the numbers. I write mine down as well as keep them in my phone, because if I can't get to my phone, but I can get to someone else's, I know their phone numbers and things like that. Evacuation and escape, never a bad idea to practice an evacuation. How many exits we got in this room right now?
2.
Three.
No, there's one more.
Uh-oh, here we go. How many we got?
Yeah, we got 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6, and I don't know where that door leads over there. But it's, okay. So we got 6 exits. Always, and I don't know if anybody else does this, but going into a restaurant or something, I'm always, as soon as I walk in, I want to know where the exits are. Very rare that you're going to have to get out of the place quick, but in that chance, I want to be, out of there pretty quick. So. Caring for animals, that has become a big thing. The county actually we store in our main building, we have a pet trailer that's basically a mobile shelter. It's a state asset, so if we need it, obviously we can use it, but a lot of times we will deploy that out to different places around the state because pets, we know they're like family now, they're part of our family, so we want to keep them safe too. So communications plan, saying where to go in emergency, backup phone contacts. A meeting place is a very big thing. Have a meeting place with whoever lives in your home. If that's out in the front yard, if that's in the house somewhere. The reason we say outside, a lot of times the meeting place we use for fire education. So if the house starts to fill up with smoke, everyone wants to know where their family members are going. Evacuation, we have some evacuation routes in Davidson County that is more for the dam down in Healing Springs, Denton area. There are evacuation routes for that. If we do have to evacuate the county, there will be numerous communication lines of how that will be done. Escape routes, kind of hit on that. Preparing for special needs, have everything that you need. If it's oxygen, wheelchair accessible, all those things, making sure that you're prepared if you need to get out of the house or get going very quickly. Yeah, pets depend on us. Plan ahead, have food, maybe in those disaster supply kits, if you got cats, birds, dogs, iguanas, you know, having food for them for a couple days. How long do you think for us we need to have food for in our some non-perishable food? How long do you think we need? 3 days, that's perfect. And how much water do we need per day? Gallon of water. We're supposed to drink a gallon of water a day. That's hard for me. That's really hard for me, but I try to do it. But in that disaster supply kit, they sell those milk jugs of water at Food Line Walmart. I keep 3 of those, 3 of those for me and 3 of those for my wife, and we have that all together. And then non-perishable foods, beanie weenies, I'll eat them all day if I need to. Things like that. Vienna sausages, I got any Vienna sausage fans in here? Because I eat them like crazy too. All right, so pet provisions, provide a pet carrier, have a cage for them, keep their shots. That's another thing for that supply kit, keep their shots and their immunizations, keep that together with them in case, because you could become separated from your pets, but there will be a tracking system to make sure you're reunited, and more than likely the veterinarian who is taking care of that pet shelter is going to want to know what kind of shots they have and if they're up to date on rabies and stuff like that. Properly fitted collar and ID, and then gather pet emergency supplies. Again, food, water for the pet in disasters. Shelter, hit on that. Gather pet supplies, proper ID, make sure the pet's got their driver's license with them. We don't want that. And then, yeah, pet care and leash. And then this is what we have at we keep this at our office. It is the animal shelters, but it is basically a 20 to 25 animal trailer, and usually 2 veterinarians will go along with this trailer, and it's got everything from real big cages to really small cages, so all kinds of animals. Yes, ma'am.
Are you able to identify them if they have a chip, if your dog has a chip in them?
From our standpoint, no, but from a veterinarian standpoint, maybe. I'm not sure. Not sure about that. Good question. Yeah, and here's the inside of the trailer. You can see the rows on the top. There's also rows on the other side. That runs off a generator, and we keep that, like I said, at the Medic 1 at the base there on North Main Street. We keep that behind the building. We hit on this, but we're gonna hit on it again because this is an important part of disaster preparedness. A supplies kit. Gotta have supplies for everything. Food and water for at least 3 days. Radio, flashlight, and extra batteries, and we hit on some other stuff. It is perfectly okay to have too much stuff in your disaster supply kit. That's fine. No one is ever going to say, why has this person got all this? It's going to be when there's not enough stuff is when you're really going to wish you had extra stuff in there. First aid kit, hygiene items, fire source, tools, zip ties, and duct tape, extra clothing. Kitchen accessories, like copies of credit card and ID cards, cash, special needs item. Anything you think that you can't go without for at least 3 days needs to go in that disaster supply kit. Yeah, canned foods, closed containers. Review your kit and family needs at least once a year. Yeah, 1 or 2 easy to carry containers. So toolboxes work good. Baby tackle boxes, they work good for that kind of stuff too.